I mentioned that Kevin Stefanski has struggled against physical teams, and we're going to come back to that later. But one of the things before we get to that really troubled me yesterday, and I want to see what you guys thought about it. We played the clip yesterday from Deshaun Watson. Basically, I'll paraphrase.
We have it again.
We have a communication issue. I thought it was really hard to hear.
You got a better version?
We got a better clip.
Okay, if you got a better clip, let's play it. This is Deshaun Watson kind of explaining the troubles of the offense so far this year.
What do you identify as maybe the biggest issue for you?
For myself, it's just being on the same page with everybody else. Well, you got to think. We had some injuries, so, we had a rookie tackle that came in, so we got to change up a little bit of the protection-wise. Nick went out early on, so, some young running backs that got to come in protection-wise. And then some of the receivers, Coop, he was a guy that came along during camp. He didn't get too many reps. Elijah's new to the system with live bullets, so we didn't get too many live bullets in real games. You can't sit here and say, practice is going to be exactly the games. It's two different speeds and two different things that's, adjustable.
What have you identified?
So a couple of things that I'd say to that, guys. First of all, if it was so important to get more time, why did he demand to Kevin Stefanski that he play more in the preseason?
Yeah.
If that was so important. And why did we not hear about any of this lack of chemistry or lack of being on the same page when they beat Cincinnati by 3 touchdowns? All of a sudden, now listen, we want guys to be honest in press conferences, so I hate to rip a guy when he gives what he looks at as an honest answer, but it sounded to me like a lot of excuses.
I counted 5 of them in there.
Yeah, they beat the Bengals by 3 touchdowns, but I think we all agree that the offense looked pretty disjointed.
Well, the passing game, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
So that part aligns. I made the argument in July that Deshaun Watson should play more this preseason for exactly this reason. Because of the long layoff, everything else, knock the rust off, whatever you want, the importance of the season, the importance of getting off to a good start, knowing that you had 3 divisional games. So if you want to look at who to point the finger to, I point the finger at Kevin Stefanski for not playing him more in the preseason, and also the fact that, this was a longer than usual training camp. There's really no excuse for this.
Sure, you had the extra week.
You had the extra week there in West Virginia.
And the extra preseason game.
There was plenty of time for this. So I do think that he should have played more in the preseason. I know I said I didn't like Denzel Ward playing, and that's true. I don't like that because it's different factors. Look at Denzel's injury history. What are you going to gain from him playing in that meaningless game against the Chiefs as opposed to your quarterback with these new offensive weapons? I said at the time I thought he should have been playing more in the preseason, and I stand by that, and now you're kind of seeing it. But we talk about this every year, that with the teams that don't play a lot in the preseason, they look a little disjointed, and they struggle in the early weeks of the season, and that's playing out right now in real time.
You said yesterday that his soundbite sounded a lot like the narrative of the account that some are saying is a burner account, but there's no proof that it is. But you're right, it does. It sounds a lot like it. He's pointing a lot of fingers. Injury. Offensive line is relatively inexperienced, particularly at right tackle. The Elijah Moore comment, the Coop comment. These are all excuses that are piled up on top of one another, and that's a bad look.
Every team has bumps and bruises and dings and guys coming in and out. It's the NFL. Yeah. Everybody, it's in training camps and any other time of the year.
Well,
everybody
look at Cincinnati. I mean, they haven't had their quarterback in the preseason.
And you could see the results.
You can see the results. They show. And to your point, that might, in fact, be true. The reason it didn't show itself against Cincinnati, I wouldn't give the offense anything but a C- against Cincinnati.
Right.
They were relatively ineffective. They did enough to win the football game, but I think it's clear they won on the strength of their defense.
What's amazing, by the way, guys, is I was looking to see if Deshaun Watson took significantly less snaps or threw significantly less passes than any other veteran quarterback in the league, and he really didn't. No, he threw 13 passes in the preseason.
Yeah.
No veteran starting quarterback threw more than 17 passes in the preseason.
Well, but
however, he's
different.
Has played a lot less than those
That's
guys.
exactly right, and that's where I was going.
Yeah, guys like Sam Howell, who hasn't played a lot, the rookie quarterbacks, or Jordan Love, those guys took a lot more snaps.
Well, look how they played DeJuan Jones. They wanted to see what they had. And they put him out there for the preseason as if they were 4 regular season games.
It's a good thing they did.
It's a very good thing they did.
Imagine where they'd be.
Imagine, and maybe there was some, when the Conklin signing happened, we all were like, wait a minute, is that a joke?
Yeah.
Is that real? He's injury prone. He's older in his career, and maybe the Browns, I'm not saying it was foreshadowing, but they did want to know, what did we have at this kid?
Yes.
We know we've got a huge chunk of clay, but what can we turn it into? And I'm glad they did play him a lot. I was critical of the way the Browns used Deshaun Watson in the preseason. I stand by that criticism. It wasn't enough. 13 passes in the preseason, and now he's going to say, we're not on the same page.
Yeah.
Why are you not on the same page? Because you had 13 reps in the preseason.
Yeah.
And I don't care typically what other teams are doing with their starters. Well, Belichick didn't. Andy Reid this year. I don't care. No one has a situation like the Browns. The Browns situation was very unique. Well, they have a franchise quarterback that had so much rust on him last year, he looked unrecognizable.
I'd say if I stretch it, the only comparison I could make would be Jordan Love, who's been in the league a while but hasn't played.
Sure.
And he threw, I think, 3 times the passes that Deshaun Watson. They used him a lot.
And that was appropriate.
Because they were like, we need to get him up to speed.
And you know what? I would have looked at Deshaun Watson as the same way. Last year, everybody said, well, he hasn't played in 2 years. What'd you expect? Okay, if that's true, let's get him as many reps as we possibly can. So in week 2, we don't hear, we are not on the same page.
Right.
We have, and to your point, you blame Stefanski. I don't know that that's true. Has Stefanski said anything about there being communication issues? And I know he doesn't tell us much.
No. Yeah, he's not going to say that.
Well, Alex Van Pelt said he wasn't buying it. He talked yesterday.
Oh, good, because I didn't hear either man speak. I want to know, is anybody else saying that this is an issue?
Joe Bitonio did double down on it, and we actually have Bitonio's comments. Mike, if you want to take tag board full, Anthony, you could hit play when you're ready. This is Joe Bitonio.
It's part of the process of getting the right offense out there. You lose a guy like Jack, who's very good at communicating, really understands his job. You bring a rookie in who's fighting his butt off and doing everything he can and learning the playbook. But Jack brings 8 years of experience, the position. So that's one guy. And then you see Nick go down, and I think last game there was just a little bit of we panicked a little bit. You throw a pick early, and you press on the gate. At one point, I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, we're winning this game, and it feels like we're not. You know what I mean? And so there was just a little bit of panic, and I think we learned from that. I think everybody comes in and takes a deep breath and realizes, like, hey, our defense is playing really well right now. Like, gives us a chance on offense to figure out what we need to figure out and do what we need to do.
I'd love to know how the question to him was phrased, and you know this. There's a difference. Was the question phrased, hey, how's the communication been this year? Or was it phrased, Deshaun just said communication's been a problem.
Knowing that room as well as I do.
That's the way it was phrased.
That's the way it was phrased.
That's my assumption too, because you know as well as I do, reporters love to listen to the other team's comments and then run into the locker room and say, hey, Jamar Chase just said, and it's baiting a little bit.
But in this case, it's not baiting. It's saying like,
no, you're asking him to confirm something. But saying, the way I would do that as a reporter, don't ask him to confirm your leader's comments. He's not going to roll on the leader and say, what's he talking about? Communication.
Just ask him
without telling him the answer. Say, what's the communication been like between coach to quarterback to players? Now you're going to get an honest assessment of what he thinks.
True, although Bitonio could argue that the reporters put him in a tricky spot, not telling him the Watson thing.
That's right.
And maybe he inadvertently makes Watson look bad if he didn't know.
Yeah, but I
think you're right. That's the best way to get the honest answer.
But Bitonio doesn't know what Deshaun has said.
Right. That's true.
Instead of giving him a peek at what Deshaun's answer was, instead just ask about the issue in a vacuum and see what his answer is.
And this is also why I think these are a waste of time. Like a lot of the podium stuff is a total waste of time. I don't even mess with it anymore. But and the whole communication thing, it sounds like a big blanket. What does that mean?
Yeah, I know. It's all encompassing. Well, you can put that under the...
I did think one of the most interesting things Joe Bitonio said was, he said twice that it felt like panic set in when Nick Chubb got hurt.
I was surprised by that, too, because they were winning.
Pick six. Did he say...
he said after the pick six.
The pick six.
Not after the... And they were winning 11-7 at one point. I mean, that panic should have been...
winning in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, why are you panicking?
Well, being in that stadium, it didn't feel like they were leading.
It didn't.
But I know maybe it didn't.
But they should have felt that way.
But clearly they didn't. He just told you they felt the same way they felt in the press
maybe
box.
it didn't feel like that on the scoreboard, but to me, as I was watching the game, I'm like, they are in complete control of this game.
I didn't feel that way.
I mean, they were moving the ball. Pittsburgh was not. I'm just judging it on what you can't win if you can't score, unless you give the ball away.
Yeah, Pittsburgh had the one home run play to Pickens. That was it.
That was half of their offensive production for the night.
And Zach Jackson and I kept saying, like, Steelers love having their defense on the field. They don't mind punting here. Put the defense back on the field. The defense is having more success than the offense.
They had the one big play on offense and 2 defensive touchdowns.
And that's all they needed.
Yeah.
And in most cases, that's going to do it.
Here's the situation right now, okay? We talked about this a little bit yesterday, that a lot of people, myself included, to some degree, gave Deshaun Watson a pass for last year. And a lot of people, myself included, less included than the first group, gave Deshaun Watson a pass for the Bengal game. After this game, it changed. There were a lot of Deshaun Watson homers that started to say, what's going on? He's not playing well. If he has a bad game this week, that group is going over the top. It's going to become the majority of Browns fans are going over the top, because if you have perfect conditions this Sunday. You're at home. You're playing one of the worst pass defenses in the league. The weather is supposed to be perfect, 70 degrees and partly sunny. There is no excuse whatsoever for Deshaun Watson not to have a good game. And if he does it again, which would make it 9, with Baltimore by San Francisco, there will be, I guess if they win, it won't be full-blown panic because you'll still be 2-1. But if he plays poorly and they lose, it's going to be insane.
I agree with you. The tide will turn in a hurt. Right now, it's kind of a mix. We're hearing from his critics and his supporters.
It's all going over the top.
Coming into the season, it was 80% of his supporters, 20% of the critics. This is how the worm turned on Baker. Once upon a time, he had the whole fan base. And in very short order, it went from kind of a 50-50 split, and then all of a sudden, everybody says, this guy can't play, we got to get rid of him. It happens fast.
The stadium will be full of boos if he does not play
if he does not play, he's going to get the boo.
It won't be pretty. Okay, we're bringing on Ken Couch in 45 seconds, right?
Yes, sir.
Before we do, quickly, can this be fixed? If it is a communication issue, how do you fix it?
Time, reps. Like, that's how you fix it. It's
just shouldn't it have been enough time by now?
Yes.
I mean, this is crazy.
We just said that. It was a longer extended preseason.
What percent is Stefanski? What percent is Watson?
I mean, now it's Deshaun. He's the one on the field. Before it was Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 50-50 overall.
Yeah.
The whole
in terms of setting up the structure and snaps and all that in the preseason, that's all Kevin. But now it's Deshaun.
Yeah.
He's the one with the ball in his hands. He's the one on the field.
I was interested. The one part of it he said, and we played the part yesterday, but not in this piece. We said, well, we don't know if we're going for it on 3rd down or what are we doing? Are we going for it on 4th down? I was surprised to hear him say that.
I didn't hear that part.
I didn't hear that.
That was in the bite you played yesterday. It was also on the bite we played yesterday on Channel 3.
Yeah, it was just tough to,
really
tough to hear through tag
It's
board.
really
so
hard to hear. And not just tag board. When we played it on Channel 3 last night, I'm like, I can't hear that.
There's got to be a better way to get audio from scrums in the locker.
Well, it is tough. Most of these guys are using phones, and that's.
I don't want to hear the excuse of the right tackle injury. Injury's a part of the game. The Nick Chubb injury, and that's and in terms of he played well outside of Elijah Moore and the rookie, what's his name? Cedric Tillman, who's not played much. No. He played with all these guys last year. Give me, come on. It shouldn't be so foreign to him.
You have a read